so helpless. Like you said, so helpless just to watch it unfold. It was just unreal in real time. It was like scenes out of a movie. It was like The Purge or like Black Hawk Down. There was roving like groups of like 20 men with bats and crowbars that were just running through the streets, banging on metal poles just to make noise, just to intimidate.
Boom. And we're live. I'm here with two of my best friends out in LA, Los Angeles. I got Kris on the mic. Kris, how you doing?
Doing well. I'm excited to finally be doing this.
Kris Behsman Bez. And then we got Mario Ceccetti. Mario, what's up, man?
It's a damn good day.
And I thought this was going to be a very unique podcast episode because this is completely different than anything we typically do, right? A lot of times when you guys listen to our podcast, we're breaking down a successful business and the steps of how they got there and understanding their thought processes, and all that's going to continue, and it's amazing. But this last week has been very eventful in Los Angeles, and some of it before it got eventful was a lot of fun, so we're going to cover a bunch of different bases, but a lot of it was very scary as well. And I thought that this is a very interesting topic that I'm excited to talk about because it's not talked about a lot. So what better than to bring my two best friends out here onto the pod? It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're excited.
It's always fun, man. Thanks for having us.
Real quickly, let's just give everybody a quick understanding of how we all became friends.
Absolutely. I think that might start here. So I had originally moved out here, and I was really kind of just trying to make it work, right? And just going along with everything. And I had been living with a fraternity brother from college. And I had met Mario once or twice through this fraternity brother, right? And through all that, eventually he had met this girl, and he was really into her, and more or less just dropped me off on Mario's doorstep and said, "Hey, man, you got to stay there for a week." And it's kind of like, "Oh, that's great," whatever. I didn't really care. I had a place to go, and like I said, I was an intern at the time, just trying to make it in Los Angeles, which, as we all know, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Easy at all. Yeah.
So I ended up at Mario's place and pretty much just on his couch for the first time. Maybe we'll get into the second time later, but me and Mario were like, "Well, nice to meet you. What do you want to do? Drink?"
We all have one shared pastime here.
Yeah. So
a little gin and tonic.
through some significant amounts of gin and just some good solid quality times together. At the end of that week, we were kind of like, all right, well, I remember we woke up at the very end of it, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw your camping gear, man. You want to go hike Mount Tom?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Just to be clear, Mount Tom is a lesser known mountain here in California. It was like 13,600 feet, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's no joke.
Yeah, it's not the tallest mountain in California. It's shorter by about 1,000 feet than Mount Whitney, which is
But it's steep.
It's steep. it's remote, and unlike Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in California, there's no good trail to speak of up it. It's pretty remote, but it's really beautiful up there.
It was, yeah. It was a great experience, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, other than the fact that it hit 10 degrees at night, and I was not prepared for that. But
it was cold.
waking up with ice in your beard is something else.
So when was the first time I actually saw Mario out here?
That's a great question.
That is. It
know,
happened naturally through.
I'm sure. Yeah, it did.
This.
It did happen naturally. I want to say the first time I met Ian, I think, was here. I believe.
A dinner party?
Dinner party.
I don't know if it was a dinner party. I think Kris is like, "Yo, I'm going over to my boys."
Was
Ian.
it Cha-Cha Chicken?
I don't think it was Cha-Cha Chicken.
Damn.
Because we didn't find out. We didn't really do. We all love Cha-Cha Chicken, but we didn't really do Cha-Cha Chicken until like the past 2 years. And I had known you before Cha-Cha Chicken. I think Kris was like, "Hey, I'm going over to my boy Ian's house." It was like a dinner party. We do it a little better now than we used to. It was a little more like ad hoc at the time, but he's like, "Hey, I'm going to my boy Ian's house. You want to come over?" And I'm like, new to California, reasonably new to California. I'm down to meet whoever because I love everybody until you give me a reason not to, and then I don't like you anymore. But
it's a great philosophy, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's like, how else are you gonna approach life, right?
Right.
How else are you gonna make friends unless you assume that everybody is a good person? you gotta,
Yeah, and we're also huge proponents of a certain type of gin that is featured right now on the video camera called Mulholland Gin.
Let's hope it's on the video camera.
And we are hoping that Mulholland will let us become investors inside of their company somehow.
I will give them all of my cash.
Because
all of it.
It is something.
Just let me know, man.
It is the best ever.
Let me know where to write the check.
Yeah, right.
I think where else can you get it? I know you can get it like Whole Foods in California.
So they have a website. You can go check it out. I'm pretty sure it's just Mulholland spirits.com. And
now their gin is to die for.
The gin is so they have vodka, gin, and whiskey, but their gin in particular is just astounding.
I inquired about getting a pallet because let me explain. First of all, I think
personal consumption.
I think it's the best gift to give somebody. Like if you give a great bottle of like that's a great gift.
You're giving them a good time,
Yeah.
I have at least 3 people I know in New York who are always like, next time you come, can you bring me a bottle of Mulholland?
Yeah, and I know your brother shared that other one with you, the Brooklyn one.
Oh, the Brooklyn one's really good.
Which was good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're carrying around the bee's knees here.
Yeah, we happen to live on top of the best gin this side of.
It's the California Gold.
This side of the Milky Way galaxy, apparently.
And then me and Kris, we met through a direct sales company a long time ago, Vima. And
that's right. And network podcasting.
Network podcasting. And we got breakfast one time, and you were with like your ex girlfriend, I think, at the time.
Yeah,
and
something like that.
Just tally it up.
And then we didn't really speak much after that. We just made this initial homie connection, and then a few years later, you gave me a call, and the next thing you know, we happened to end up working together in the same startup.
yeah, living together in the same city, and just kind of. It's crazy how life works.
It's crazy. But the thing is if you never gave me that call, it would have changed your life so significantly, because in my life as well. And that's so interesting that everybody listening, as a matter of fact, you gotta reach out to more people and open more doors.
Absolutely.
Because everything is on your free will, your agency, which I know I'm excited to talk to Mario about. But let's talk about camping. So I'm just gonna throw this out here. We're gonna start this really rated G. We're gonna just go old school camping, y'all. And I recently had an amazing camping experience. First of all, I broke my gun virginity before. But this definitely took it to a new level. Such an amazing trip, going out to the woods. What mountains were we in?
We were in the Southern Sierras. Yeah, like just wilderness in the Southern Sierras. A bunch of federally owned land. Nowhere in particular. We just kind of drove out on the dirt roads until they ended and pulled over and went for a small walk. And
we did almost kill the car.
We did almost kill my Subaru, my 20-year-old Subaru, who I
tell the story of the Subaru.
Oh, okay. Well, you want the real story? The real story is a little bit.
We won't call it its name, but we'll tell the story.
The name is it's not rated. Not rated G. This is the G part of the podcast.
The gin part.
The gin part of the podcast. Yeah. Later is the story part of the podcast. Okay, so Dom and I've lived in California now for 5 years. I used to have a car when I first moved here, but then I sold my car because I moved to Los Angeles, and if you live a particular way in a large city, you don't need a car, and I didn't need a car and save money. So I got rid of my car, and then so I would just rent cars as needed. I would rent Jeep Wranglers to go camping. It's not that expensive to rent cars for like a weekend. So we have another friend who lived out here kind of temporarily. His name is Dom. We went camping.
Shout out
to Dom. Yeah,
Great
Dom out there in Florida holding it down.
Holding down the fort.
Holding down the fort in Florida. God knows he can.
That he can. Don't knock on his door accidentally.
You're not. Yeah, you better know Dom if you knock on Dom's door.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go camping, and this is right at the beginning of the Rona-virus.
The Rona.
Yeah. So we're gonna call it the Rona. This is right at the beginning of that. And me and Dom, we're out in the middle of the woods, pitch black. We get a little whiskey drunk, and we start going all conspiracy theory.
Sorry, I can't.
And because it's hysterical, right? Because remember, the beginning of this year was World War III.
You should have shared this with me, because I would have saved a lot of money in the stock market.
Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, I woke up the next morning a little hungover in the middle of the woods, and I woke up. I'm like, oh my God, we're all gonna die. This coronavirus is gonna get us all. This is back in January, mind you. And so the first thing I do, I come back to Los Angeles and I start panic buying, and I start panic buying everything. This is back in January. I go to Walmart. I panic buy all the stuff. The lady looks at me. She's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm going camping." I had 2 carts full of stuff.
So this is like months before it got real.
This is like, well, it got real. I think people really started noticing like the end of February, the first week of March. This is the last week.
But you saw the trend.
This is the last week of January. Yeah, Dom and I went camping on Martin Luther King weekend. It was a long weekend, so we went camping out north here in near San Luis Obispo, and I came back and I started panic buying everything, all the stuff from Walmart. I may have made a few purchases at firearm shops. I also was like, I need a car, because if it gets real, I need to be able to leave. And I went out and bought a car. I bought a $4,000 2001, 2002 Subaru Forester, which for all intents and purposes is incredibly well preserved.
God
it's like
bless her.
Fossil. It's like astounding how well that thing
It's
runs.
an archaeological feat, man.
It really is. For a 20-year-old car, the things we do to it is just like, that should not work. It's like only 120,000 miles. Anyway, so yeah, we almost broke my car trying to go through a creek.
Well, basically,
up a ditch.
We're going down this road. It's epic. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And Mario sees a off-road inside of the road. We all look down at like, there's no possible way we could do that. This is stupid. Like it didn't even occur to us that it would occur to Mario to even think about trying this. Yeah. And then Mario goes,
but I knew.
And this is the first time, mind you, that I've really pushed this car to the edge, because it's a brand new car to me. So this is the first time I've really tried anything adventurous with it. And we're out in the middle of nowhere.
I have GoPro footage. I'm actually going to overloop it over this video.
Okay,
right
that's
now
perfect.
to show
That's
people. But yeah, so we send it down. This thing was a Toyota 4Runner, could have took it, but not the Boo.
Yeah, not the
makes it through the creek. Chris is just shaking his head the whole time. Yeah. Chris is like, "This is stupid."
Chris is screaming at me. Yeah.
We almost get there, but hey, the clutch.
We made it further than I thought.
The clutch didn't burn.
Well,
it burned.
It toasted. it got toasted. It didn't light on fire.
It didn't break.
It definitely didn't break. That's the key. That's really the key in this situation. Is nothing broke.
Here, look.
And we were all fine.
We honestly got way further than I thought we would have. Yeah. But that tree stump. That would have had like a 2-foot gap there.
Yeah, in the creek there. Yeah, that if that mud wasn't there on the other side, we totally could have made it. If we had 2 cars, we could have made it.
Now the Mini would have never even made it to the creek. So
Chris has a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
Shout out. Right.
I don't know if it would have made it over that lip to that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been.
I would have never made it down. Remember that little zigzag we did there?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta basically point out that I don't get out of LA much because, number one, I don't have a car and I don't need a car because I just rip around Santa Monica and
saves money.
And just having a car is such a nightmare here. It's like,
oh my God,
everywhere you go, it's like parking tickets galore. You know what I'm saying? With that said, I want to get a car soon, so that's going to happen. But getting out there and being in the fresh air, being in the mountains and just getting away was just exhilarating. I felt like a little kid again. I was just having so much fun, just frolicking in the leaves, checking for ticks, like those type of problems instead of just, doing the same routine all the freaking time. So I'm looking forward to getting more into that and just that whole experience of going out, deep on what you're mentioning is federal land that you can go out.
Particularly, federal land is the great unknown resource. So all U.S. citizens, you actually own land. You own federal land, and it's yours to enjoy, yours to respect as well, but yours to enjoy. You want to go camping? You don't have to ask anybody for permission. Go camping. You don't have to have a campsite. Respect the land. Pack out what you pack in. Don't leave a trace. Be respectful. Be safe with fire, especially if you're in the West. And especially, yes, as we can talk about. And it's your land.
And that's what I really blew my mind is, number one, I have a lot of respect for you, Mario, because of how ethical you approach this and how responsible you are. Just as a human being with going camping and doing things that, you need a high level of just responsibility when making fires in a place where there's massive forest fires. You have to be so freaking careful with everything you're doing. Guns, right? Guns,
absolutely.
It's
shooting guns.
We're gonna shoot some guns. Exactly. You have to be really respectful. It's your land, but you also have to understand that it's everybody's land. You can enjoy it, but you can't ruin it for everybody else. That includes trash, fire. If you go shooting, you can't like leave like brass casings everywhere. You really need to appreciate how beautiful the land is and understand that if we all go out there every weekend and trash the place, it will rapidly become just like the city, right? The reason why it's so beautiful is because it's so pristine, and we need to keep it like that. And I hope that when everybody goes out there, you would see how beautiful it is, how pristine it is, and realize like, wow, I can't leave my trash bag out here, because definitely some people do. You see trash out there and you see it, pick it up.
Absolutely.
What are
Got to pick that up.
Got to pick that up.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that like really bother you? Being somebody that is so by the code with everything you do, what are some things that just grind your gears and just attack your core values?
When I see that somebody has just absolutely left, like you can tell when somebody's gone camping and they've just like they didn't even bother to pick one thing up. Like you just throw like styrofoam, like meat packing stuff everywhere, and just like leave everything just tossed about. That stuff really grinds my gears. I also like when people disrespect wildlife, especially in like national parks where wildlife tends to congregate because the human presence is there and there's food. Humans bring food. So the animals tend to congregate, and people like disrespect. They don't disrespect. People don't understand how deadly and how serious wild animals are. You can see this really easily. If you go down to La Jolla in San Diego, you can see people putting their babies next to seals in the sand. These 400-pound like
Dogs.
beasts,
Wild dogs. Yeah,
and they're like
dogs.
just to get a picture of their baby for Instagram. I'm like, all it would take is for one angry seal to just chomp down, and that's it. So people that really bothers me when people don't understand the gravity of the situation they're getting in. And like not only is it animal safety, but it's also your own personal safety, just from environmental safety, right? Like we almost froze to death on the top of a mountain because of a random winter storm.
Yeah.
And
I know I did. You were warm.
Yeah, well,
you were taking clothes off as I was putting all of them on.
I was.
Like, throw me that jacket, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, that grinds my gears a little less. That's just like it makes my heart like skip a beat when I see people going out with their Lululemon pants and a singular bottle of water down a dead end trail in the middle of nowhere, and you're just like, I really hope they don't hurt themselves.
Yeah, and something that I've been very inspired by you is you're definitely on the extreme end of this, right? And it's the being prepared for anything, being prepared for whatever happens.
I don't know about the extreme end. There's people with bunkers out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good point. Well played.
Fallout shelter.
Yeah. I would only be so lucky now. So go ahead.
We'll get into it. But I think something that we should just talk about is overall, I know for me, just going out there and just being able to learn about weapons and shooting guns and doing it in a smart way. Like target practice is a very meditational thing, right?
It really can be. Yeah. If you do it slowly, methodically, and accurately, it absolutely has to be a meditational experience.
But at the same time, something that always freaks me out about the whole deal is, I don't know, I'm just like a fairy in some ways. I'm just a little flower that just doesn't want anyone to ever get hurt and scared, and guns scare me.
Don't pollinate me.
Yeah. Guns scare me. I've always kind of been that way. Like I know a lot of my friends like all about their guns, and I've always been very just, scared of the fact that a weapon is a weapon that can in any heartbeat turn the whole world around. And you brought up a lot of good points to me that sort of shifted my thinking about that, about the way like you're behind a wheel. Everybody has a chance right there, having the power of being behind a wheel to do something irresponsible, bad, or like we all have free will. Can we talk about that? Yeah,
absolutely. So like you're saying, I think everybody, you should fear danger. You should fear responsibility, not in a I'm afraid, don't let it get near me kind of way, but in a I need to take this seriously kind of way. And that's nothing to play around with. But that being said, if you do it responsibly, if you do it safely, I think it's actually good for your soul to take responsibility. It has to be. Like you're saying, like, yeah, it is like if you're new to firearms, it's going to be disconcerting to hold one in your hand for the first time. But I think everybody probably who hopefully listening can relate. The first time you drove a car, the first time your parents said, go for a drive by yourself. And you go out on the main road.
I crashed my car the first time my parents told me that.
Exactly. So you're the guy who shot his foot off the first time he got a gun.
Absolutely. But when I touched the gun for the first time, it was a very different sensation.
Yeah.
I was overly cautious.
Yeah. So
overly
that's
cautious.
and for those
But I
who
did
are
crash
those
my
who are
car the
learning to
first
drive
time.
should be overly cautious when they're learning to drive. So
Well, I wasn't.
the first time you learn to drive and your parents send you out on your own, like, all right, go get me bread or whatever your parents had you do the first time, and you're like, oh my God, who gave me the power to drive by myself? And you're like, it's this really fearful thing that I can kill myself. I can kill other people, not on purpose. You're not going out there to kill people. Now, granted, there are people who use vehicles as weapons. That's terrible. Just like when people use firearms as weapons, that's also terrible. But these are tools that humans have invented. And when they're used responsibly, they bring great joy and also resources to our lives. You can enjoy cars as a fun time driving on a race course. You can also enjoy firearms on the range. You can also use your car to get food from the grocery store. You can also use your firearm to get food from nature. And when you see it like that, when you see it as a tool that humans use and enjoy as a responsibility, a deadly responsibility that you have to own and respect, it changes perspective. And even if you don't drive a car, everyone's had a dinner party before where you've maybe been cutting up some bread and you're holding a knife in your hand and you're standing behind someone you know. You could kill them just as easily as you could with a firearm. It only takes one stab with a knife, a well-placed stab. And no one ever concerns themselves that they're going to stab somebody. You're not going to freak out and stab somebody. So you need to understand that, yes, they're dangerous, but as long as you're doing it safely, responsibly, it's something to be enjoyed. It's something to be respected. And as an American, it's actually your right. And as an American, you probably, I hope you believe that it's everybody's right, and other countries unduly restrict that right. But that's another topic. So
I find that topic fascinating, but probably another time.
That's a whole rabbit hole of.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of international travel, and a lot of people truly are dumbfounded about the United States and their kind of propensity towards firearms and the way that they approach these things and how we feel that we have the right to arm ourselves as citizens. And a lot of people truly are taken back by it. They're surprised by it. They don't understand it. I remember I almost got in a very heated conversation with a Norwegian guy, and he was like, I don't get it, other than military use. I mean, I know that London police don't have firearms, and I believe that the Norwegian ones don't, but don't quote me on that one. But he was just so appalled by how we feel that Americans, we have the right to hold arms. And I was trying to point him and make him understand the Constitution a little bit and make him understand, what we as Americans kind of view as our rights and why we believe it to be that way because of the way it was formed. But I mean, at the end of the day, there was just no common ground, and it was an agree to disagree type of situation.
Yeah. Some people, I think until you actually experience it, and hopefully, you can have a friend who can introduce you to it. Or like a grandfather or a father or someone like that, or a mother, whoever.
A responsible friend.
A responsible acquaintance who can introduce you.
Which is basically about everything in the world, right?
Yeah, driving, right?
You have a reckless driver teach you, you're done.
Going to be crazy. Yeah, exactly. So, as long as you should be introduced appropriately, responsibly, and safely, it's a great experience. And it's absolutely your right. Just like it's your right to defend yourself if somebody attacks you in the street with your fists. It's your right to defend yourself in all situations.
Well, that's going to be a great segue, because we go to this experience, have such a fun camping trip. I'm over on Amazon Prime about to.
Not a problem in the world out in the mountains. That's the best part about the mountains. There's nothing wrong. It's quiet.
It's a beautiful place.
It's beautiful.
The quietness.
The quiet. Yeah. There's nothing wrong.
Hey, the Mount Tom stars, man.
The Mount Tom
you
stars.
see the galaxy ripping up and right above you.
The purple sunsets, and it's just
unbelievable.
It's
Unbelievable.
So we have this experience. It's amazing. I'm over here about to just drop like a freaking $1,000 on camping gear because I'm so fired up. Super rookie move, right? Just jump into something with it. But
that's okay, man.
At first, just
that is how I roll.
$1,000 you get spent on worse things.
That's so true.
Yeah, like a pallet of gin.
Amen. I'll drink to that. But this past week, there was a very, particularly in my life, a very scary incident that I had never felt more small at that moment. Actually, I don't know. That's like a vague statement. I could go back in my life and I bet I could find some pretty crazy moments,
helpless?
Right? But within the past year, that was the most helpless I've ever felt. And essentially, I don't know if people haven't been keeping up with the news that's happened in terms of looting and some stuff that happened in Los Angeles. It happened in Santa Monica. If you actually tuned into YouTube, you could watch eyewitness news from a helicopter, people looting and looting and looting.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight. It was like something I've never seen before. So I had an epidural shot due on Monday morning, which is basically they take a needle and they stick it in your spine because I've had sciatica issues for a very long time. So the day before, I wanted to get a run in because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it for a while, particularly rollerblading, right? That's my game, right? I love
call
it.
that run?
Yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Right. So I go out there on my scooter. I got my blades on my back, and it's about 2:30 in the afternoon, and I head down to Santa Monica. And you guys just started texting the group chat like, yo, things are getting serious out there. Don't go. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I get down there. I'm about
No, but seriously.
It's
Don't
not.
go.
It gets real fast out there.
So then I go down to like 4th Street, and all of a sudden it just starts getting chaotic. I can just see it in people's faces. Cars are screaming by. They're going fast. Just quickly seemed like the whole world in that moment just got sped up by like 4x, like in an audiobook. And there was just all sorts of scary people coming around. Some people had baseball bats. Everybody's in masks. Like, clearly, this is not where you need to be.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people run around with, Vans boxes in their hands. Part of me was thinking, wow, this is one of the coolest people watching experiences of my life. Like, wow, what better? And
It really is an insight into like what happens in mob mentality, and not only mob mentality, but like if you can eat, just get it, just visceral. It was really amazing to watch.
So then I'm basically quickly, I do the pros and cons, and the cons outweigh the pros massively. And
What am I doing here? Gotta go.
Yeah, especially once you start seeing the weapons come out.
yeah, what am I
That's
going to do? Fight someone? Like, what would happen if someone just comes out? Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. What if someone comes at me and they ask for my wallet? Or, like, what, am I just going to fight them? Like, what am I going to
just rollerblade away, bro?
kung fu them right there? And like, no way.
But even then, you were just so outnumbered. You had no place to be there. You were just trying to rollerblade, man.
Right.
You're just having a good time.
And no one was coming after me. Right? I wasn't a target. It was just this very intense part of time. So I leave, and as I'm heading back, more and more stores are getting organized, looted. Like, people are driving in with a car, getting out of the car, going into these businesses that I've been going past every day for the past 2 years, and just taking whatever they want. So I get back home, and I basically say to you guys were totally right. This is crazy. People are going nuts. And all of a sudden, right outside of the place I live in, there's a 7-Eleven and like a mini mart. And all of a sudden, the cars start coming, cars after cars after cars, people getting out of their cars, and they're all just looting the stores that I love so dearly, that are awesome. If I need batteries, that's where I go.
And this is right next door to you, too.
Next
I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
like I
Like
could throw
less-
a rock right now and
Yeah.
hit the store.
Like less than 100 feet away.
Yeah. And I can't believe it. So I'm sitting there at the top of my balcony. I'm on the top unit, and I'm FaceTiming my friend. And which in retrospect was a stupid idea, right? But I don't know.
But you gotta show somebody what's going on.
Yeah,
man.
of course. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you can't believe this,
Yeah,
right?
It's 2020, man.
Yeah, well, who knows what June has in store for us, right?
So I'm chilling on my balcony, and I'm FaceTiming my friend, and this dude, as he's peeling out, points at me with a room full of scary looking people and says, "Look at that mother effer on the top floor. He's filming us. Let's go in and get his ass." And he yells that at me, and he must be 15, 20 feet away from me.
That's terrifying.
And
That
I
is
just look at
absolutely
myself,
Unreal.
and I go right in the shower because I just shat myself, right? But at that moment,
clean up,
I
man.
realized how defenseless I felt and
Yeah.
how scared I felt.
Yeah.
And I literally posted up next to the door because I don't know what these people are gonna do. Like, what? It's not pretty hard to jump a fence and go in and just
Not only
knock
that,
in.
Not only that, it's not hard. They had like crowbars and like tools to break and enter. Right? It was actually
And
organized.
worse. And much worse,
And
man.
much
It wasn't
worse.
even
And
just
part
that.
of me
We'll
just-
get into that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we can.
And
yeah.
part of me just assumed, right? My naiveness was thinking, oh, they would never do such a thing because clearly there's a much better, this is what they're doing. But my thought process is, at what point, like you said, that mob mentality, do people just start getting primal and start really up in the game. So it was a very scary moment in the life.
Yeah.
And I know you guys both had similar experiences.
Yeah.
I think Mario probably had a crazier experience than everybody.
I think mine was just the marathon aspect of it. So I live in downtown Los Angeles. You mind to get my light up?
No, I'm gonna do the same.
Yeah, I think
I'll let you start the trend here,
but
but
that
I think we've reached that past G portion of the podcast.
Perfect.
And this is also a first of the LenJones Party of Two podcast.
It's not a shame to enjoy a good stogie with some friends.
Well, I just recently met. I just bought these cigars from a cigar owner just up the street.
Oh yeah, tell this story. This is incredible.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for everybody.
I
in the
haven't heard
city.
this yet.
I feel so bad for everyone in the city.
Unreal.
It's so bad.
And he was telling me about his store. There's a cigar shop in Santa Monica that's probably on 2nd and Broadway. Yeah, that's for Ashing.
Got it. Okay.
And he was telling me that he was asking me, "Hey, so how's things going?" I'm like, I asked him actually first, like, "Did you make everything okay?" He's like, "No, my store got absolutely just ransacked. He lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of product.
Hundreds of thousands
Meanwhile,
of dollars.
Man, that is just awful.
I know.
Meanwhile, there were cops and people
Watching.
across the street that were protecting the mall, just watching, not doing anything because they didn't have the numbers to be able to do things." And he was like, I pay taxes, I pay for this stuff just to see this thing happen, like years, like decades of my work just go down the drain.
He's probably paid several salaries of individual police officers, with all the taxes that he's paid, and then you have them standing across the street virtually doing nothing. And we saw it on the news. You said you watched the YouTube feed. I mean, they didn't arrest anybody. They were just watching people smash windows, watching people run out.
To be fair to the LA and Santa Monica
Please
PD,
do. Yeah, absolutely.
there's no way they could have.
And that's true.
What would they have done?
Also true, yeah.
There's no way.
There was no way. It was truly at certain points absolutely mob mentality where you had thousands.
And of course, there's a
people.
lot more going on behind this whole thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's
it could not get violence under no circumstance, and we're not going to touch that. But.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But the bad part, the bad part of this was what happened to the people of Los Angeles and Santa Monica and the San Fernando Valley. It ended up happening in the San Fernando Valley too. That's not a rich community. That's completely unfair to these people of the city. It's heart-wrenching to watch, and even more heart-wrenching to walk around the town now and see the plywood and know that behind that is like looted dreams. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, man. Looted dreams.
It is. It's people's life work that just got.
Absolutely. Think about the small business owner, and you always think about the small business owner, right? And we talk about like what happened coronavirus and shutting down businesses, and the small business owner that gets just crushed from all this, and you're seeing the large companies and kind of consolidating and getting bigger and bigger and better through all this. But the mom and pop that's been doing this the 35 years and been doing it well, they're suffering, man, and they're continuing to suffer. And this was just another blow to them. And there's no nobody care, not nobody cares, but whoever's doing the looting and all that, they're really hurting the small business owner. And at the end of the day, the American kind of dream and the American people, and it's tough. It's tough to watch.
I can't thank God, like, I don't have a business that got looted or anything
100%.
like that, but I can only imagine how that would feel to be ransacked like that. It would be,
and the ability to do nothing.
All of your security, like in life, like your income security, your property security.
Well, and it's also you lose the ability to just put this burden on, say, the authorities to protect you. All of a sudden, you're put in a position where you have no choice but to decide to protect yourself and your business, and that's not a good position.
Particularly in California, after decades of California telling you don't need to own any sort of protective assets. Like, the state will take care of it. Don't worry. You have police. That's what police are for. There's no reason anybody should own anything to protect themselves with. I mean, there's a couple lawsuits right now over certain laws in California where the state's position is you don't need to own these assets because that's why we have police. And I think over the past couple days, that veil of the police will always be there for you has been absolutely just shredded. And
I mean, he just gave it in his example.
Did, exactly.
There was police across the street from the cigar owner shop that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and could do nothing about it. and you had them standing right across the street. And
Because these looters, if they were to leave their position, they would have looted the mall, which is
exactly.
a lot.
yeah, larger loss, absolutely.
Way bigger lot. They're just cutting their losses. They were
But-
standing at the 3rd Street Promenade because those are the biggest businesses. But if you were just adjacent to that, you're fair game.
But as a business owner, as the cigar shop owner, don't you feel, and don't we all feel, that this individual should have at least had the ability to attempt to deter people from entering his shop and choosing his to loot, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, at some point, so my experience was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
Sorry,
more,
we got on a tangent.
yeah.
there.
I mean, well, this guy's kind of transition as well. Hold on, give me one.
Yeah, Mario's whole transition is pretty nuts. And I've heard this story 2 different ways, but each time I've heard it, you uncover different details because it's just...
well, there's infinite details to it. It was a marathon experience,
So
really.
start them from the beginning.
Yeah, so starting the first inkling of something being off was on Thursday. The downtown Los Angeles has always has protests going on. It's kind of like a natural place for protests to happen. All the state and local buildings, city hall, it's all in the same place, and there's this beautiful park where people can gather, which is great. It's like perfect for people to gather
in good times.
in good times and in bad times, right? I mean, like,
Fair enough.
we have the right to protest, right? We have a First Amendment for a reason. We have a right to protest, and
I believe in it as well.
absolutely. Whether there's a virus or not, I believe we have the right to protest. And
Also true.
a whole nother conversation. So there's often protests, but for it to happen on a Thursday in downtown is off, and you hear the helicopters. That's the first inkling. When you hear the helicopters and you hear more than one helicopter, you know, oh, something's up. Really bad car accident. Something happened weird. So I start looking around. I have people who live in downtown who I can talk to. I also have Twitter, and I can, quickly figure out what's going on. And it's the protests. And the first night was absolutely peaceful, absolutely calm on Thursday night. Nothing happened. All right, the protest, it's gone, it's over. And I'm like, all right, so wake up on Friday. I've been working from home for the past 2 months, working from home. But now I hear the helicopters at noon. At noon on a Friday, that's definitely weird. There's no way there should be people out on a Friday. And as the night continues, I think we were even playing Call of Duty. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, sorry. I was playing with I have another set of friends. I was playing video games with my set of friends.
What?
Yeah, can you believe it? I have other friends who I play.
Whoa. Hold on,
who
dude.
I play Xbox with. Would you believe it? It's I'm sorry to break that to you, Chris.
I'm totally fine.
Speaking of which, we just totally bailed on Dom. Dom messaged us asking if we want to play some Warzone. I told
Did
him.
he? I left my phone over there.
I told him we're podding, so hopefully he respects that.
We're network podcasting
Shout out.
with the best ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
The goat
absolutely.
of podcasts.
That's right. In my book, at least.
So I tell my friends, like, hey, I got to go because I start hearing screaming. And when I can start hearing screaming and helicopters and sirens, this is at maybe like 5. I'm like, it's getting serious out there. And so the natural thing for me to do, I live in not a high rise. I live in an old 1920s apartment building in downtown Los Angeles. And I go up to the roof, and that's the natural meeting place for all the residents when anything weird is happening. So I go up there. There's a couple people up there, and we start looking over the edge of the roof. You guys have both been there for our barbecues, and
Damn right.
Shout out your salmon.
yeah, my rest in peace. We all should take an Alaska trip. And go.
I'm on board
Yeah,
as long
we
as
should
it's
get
in
some-
August because we know how I feel about the cold.
I mean, it's in late July.
California
So.
makes you soft.
Oh my God, it makes you so soft.
Yeah,
It's a
that
shame.
in Florida,
It's a
I
crying
spent
shame.
too much time in warm weather. I grew up in Boston, but you would never know.
You really would.
You'd never
This
know.
kid cries when it goes below 65.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
It's that's not. We don't pay all these taxes to have weather below 70 degrees.
Yeah.
Okay?
Them
You know,
tears don't
taxes
freeze.
are a different topic. Them tears don't freeze.
I'm up there with the roof of my building with all these
Presence is
people,
felt.
and we rapidly start to realize this is not a protest anymore. Well, there might be a protest elsewhere, but what we're seeing is people starting to lose contact with what's real. The first thing that really is like, wow, this is happening was there was a guy with a flamethrower. It wasn't a liquid flamethrower, like one that sprays and burns where it hits. It was just a gas flamethrower, but he had a backpack with gas and a nozzle that he was. The first thing I noticed was that he's
on the open
This is
street.
open street. This is an open street in downtown, middle of skyscrapers, right by the library, the central library. It's like less than 100 feet away.
What time is it?
This is just about getting dark. This is like maybe like 8 or so. It was like, there was still light in the sky, but the sun was no longer up. And this guy, there's a city bus, a metro bus full of people at this point, going home from work. And he just lights up the side of this bus with his flamethrower. And if I was on that bus, I would have been.
I didn't need to go to the bathroom because I just had an accident.
Yeah, I hope there's toilet paper on that bus because
holy smokes, man.
And I turned to the person on my fellow resident. I'm like, "Yo, did you just see that? That guy's a flamethrower." It wasn't like a military flamethrower, but it's good enough that you would seriously maim someone. And then we started seeing people throw tables, like the tables that are outside of like restaurants and stuff like that.
This is Thursday, right?
This is Friday.
Friday.
Thursday was completely peaceful. Got
it. So this is Friday now.
This is Friday at this point. Yeah. So
got it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think the real situation started
Saturday, man.
Saturday was when
it went down.
Was when that's when it got ratcheted up to
at least here
to level 12. Yeah. So I realized like, wow, this is a situation. And then I continue to watch. And these people start throwing tables and benches and bats through windows of everything and anything made of glass. Dentist shops, optometry, just nothing, like for no particular reason. Subway. What are you going to get out of Subway? You're going to steal all the...
You get a sandwich, man.
You're going to get that American or or a provolone.
Yeah, I really like the egg one, with the cheese. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
it's a college thing.
So these people are just walking around, just breaking everything.
Breaking everything. Yeah, everything they can with tools,
like as if it's a game, like Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, exactly. Like it's wild. like there's no rules. And from my roof, I can see down the way that there are police, but they're holding, which I'll come to realize later. Their strategy was, we're going to hold intersections. And we're going to, because if you hold an intersection, you can prevent people from going down certain streets. And instead of trying to hold a perimeter, they would just hold intersections. And unfortunately, there was no police presence at my intersection. And I could see them down the way on the one street, down the way on the other street. But there was no one there for us. And I realized like this is a situation. Then they start using incendiary devices. I don't know what they were using, but they were throwing things that would burn for like, it wasn't like a Molotov cocktail. It was like, it was almost like if you threw a candle with a bunch of wicks that would just burn for like 5 minutes. They were throwing these into these like stores and stuff like that. And it was starting to get
like thermite.
Which is like the most, I mean, out of everything you just said, that right there is the most harmful thing. Someone like you could light an entire building on fire,
an entire block on fire, right? We're downtown. These buildings are next door to each other.
And you can just see this.
And they're huge, right? And not only are they huge, but people live in there, right? Like they're like, yeah, sure. It might be a Starbucks on the ground.
So let's just pause. Where are they? So we're typically in a situation like that in a civilized society that can handle that. The cops come in, they take care of it.
Phone the cops.
That guy goes to jail for the rest of his life.
We got
right?
a guy with the flamethrower, and the cops were like, "We'll be there." Yeah. And in Los Angeles, that might take 20 minutes, but typically they'd be there. But so my resident, the resident who's in the building with me here, he starts calling the cops, but it's just ringing out. You dial 911 and you're not getting an answer. And, no EMS, no police. It's just ringing for like.
This is still Friday?
This is still Friday. Yeah. I stopped calling the cops after Friday. There's no reason.
Because they just wouldn't pick up.
They wouldn't pick up. Or if they did pick up, they'd say, we don't have any assets to send you. So it's just ringing out. And I realized we're all right. Well, whatever we have in our building, we're on our own. And they're on our street down there. And I start realizing like, well, they're starting to try to smash the windows of our building. And if they're throwing incendiary devices, there's 120 souls in my building that have nothing to do with anything, completely innocent, and there's no reason they should be in danger. And so I run downstairs and I talk to my security guard guy who looks like he's seen a ghost. He's just, oh my God, what do I do? And I'm like, I grab him. I was like, dude, one, I'm gonna give you my number so you can call me if you see anything crazy. 2, let's get out there and check this out. Let's see what's going on. We go on the street. There's guys with baseball bats. There's guys with crowbars. running everywhere. It's chaos. It's dark now at this point, and it's lawless. It's complete breakdown of everything you would have expected in a city. And so my building is on a corner of a block, and I run around the corner, and there's a guy trying to use a skateboard to smash into a place called Pinch's Tacos, and it's a kid. It's like a 16-year-old kid. Like,
must really like their tacos.
Must really like the tacos. I grabbed the kid. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? It's Pinch's Tacos. Like, what are you gonna do? It's like, it's a minority-owned business. You can't destroy this. It's like right on the roof. It says like real Mexican food by real Mexicans. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry. So
that just showed us that this dude was just breaking everything.
This dude if there was glass,
you just called him out.
I just called him out, like,
and
dude,
that just got him upset.
Yeah, it's just he's like, oh yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be doing this. It was purely just mob. It was just mob mentality. And so instead of using a skateboard to try to smash through a window, he's like, oh yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be doing this. I did snap him out of it for one moment, like just talking to somebody who was like in reality, like brought him back to reality temporarily. And he just kind of like wandered off into the street, hundreds of people in the street going every which direction. There was cars driving 50 miles an hour down a one way, which I can only imagine were people who were terrified and were stuck because the lines of people were like the protests and otherwise were blocking traffic movement and EMS movement, right? Whether it was police or ambulance and fire, they were blocking the movement. So there was fires burning in all the intersections. Pretty much every intersection had a fire at some point in it. Like lawn furniture, any bits of plastic, or like the signs that people like open for business signs, they would rip those off and throw them in the middle of the street and they'd light them on fire. And it would take about a half hour for any sort of fire department to show up. These fires were just burning in the street, smelling like burning rubber. And and
this is downtown.
Los Angeles, and this is before 10 p.m. And
nuts.
Yeah. And so I talked to my one friend who I trust a lot in my building. I'm like, we have a situation. We have a deadly situation, and I trust him a lot. And we both have skills that can help protect the building, and there's innocent people in this building who deserve to be protected. And I don't know, I've never been put in this situation before. I have no military training. I have no emergency training really to speak of. It's all like taught to me by my parents and my grandparents, all my survival skills that you always speak of. Like, to me, I don't think of it as survival skills. I think of it just like general knowledge, but I guess they are survival skills. And so it's just like this protector instinct in me that I never really had before this moment, like really kicked in. Like, I have to make sure that these people in this building are okay. And I spend the next, from that point, 6 hours. It's like 10 p.m. till 4:30 a.m. awake on my roof by myself, making sure that nobody does anything reckless with our building. I couldn't protect all the buildings. I set up, for the first half of the night, we were using the spotting scope that you use for target practice, not the rifle scope, but the assistant.
I was just going to clarify that.
Yeah. It's not a rifle scope. It's not a rifle scope.
Be clear here.
It's the assistant's scope. It's
like a glorified binocular.
It's a glorified binocular. It's a team. So when you're doing long range target shooting, you have a team of two, one person with a rifle, one person with the spotting scope. And the person with the spotting scope is assisting the person with the rifle to shoot. So this is a high power.
Ian is a hell of a spotter, by the way.
Yeah, natural.
Hell of a spotter.
Natural. So
absolutely.
So this is a high powered binocular basically that was allowing us to, eventually we were able to get through to the police, and we were just calling in license plate after license plate after license plate of cars who were driving in looters. Every single business in downtown got hit. Every single one. There isn't a single store in downtown that didn't get broken into.
What about my crepe guy, man?
I'm sorry?
The crepe guy, he's one of my favorites. I really, really like those.
So
crepes.
that place is actually gone.
Really?
It shut down
That's
about a
too
year
bad.
ago. It's now a sushi roll bar, which is fine because now they have liquor.
He was like a real Parisian.
He was.
No, that's not fine because they had great crepes.
I didn't know what crepes were until Talladega Nights. You know that scene?
Ricky Bobby? No.
Bobby?
I don't know the scene that you're talking about exactly.
I'm pretty sure they talk about crepes and how they're like mini pancakes.
Yeah. Oh, it came back quick when you said it.
It did. So that place is now a sushi place. But yeah, so looters broke into that, and there's nothing in there. there's some raw fish and some sake, and they took a couple bottles of sake and they ripped a cash box out of the register and threw it on the ground, and surprise, there's nothing in the cash box because places don't leave cash in cash boxes. And I
didn't think it was a surprise, but
they smashed out all the windows.
Pointless.
They broke into Starbucks and stole a bunch of mugs, I suppose, and then just continued to smash windows. They broke into, there's a Verizon wireless store. They got some loot.
Phones.
They got some loot out of that.
Phones
They
out
got
of
some
that for
loot,
sure.
yeah, and speakers and everything else. At this point, though, there's so many people on the street and so few cops that there is absolutely no assets to deploy to these hotspots. They ransacked the jewelry district.
And you're just watching this from this bird's eye view.
From the roof of my apartment. It's like an open air roof, right? I'm watching from the roof of my apartment and completely helpless to the situation, other than calling in license plates to the police, which we called in a couple. Not enough. I doubt anything will come of that. Maybe hopefully they can help some of the people who got stuff taken from them, but completely helpless. There's nothing you can do. And this is around midnight or 1 a.m. And at some point, everyone who was up on the roof, who I was with, like working with to like call out these like license plates and stuff like that, starts leaving and going back to.
So you're on the phone just calling license plates
to the cops. Like November, Mike, Bravo, 6, 4.
So
3,
any
white
vehicle
Kia.
that was doing something illegal, you were basically just like echoing it in.
Yeah. And
they were writing those numbers down.
I presume.
I
hope they probably were just like, "Yep, that's great, sir. That's thank you very much." Who knows what they were doing?
Hey, you did your part, man.
It's so helpless, like you said, so helpless just to watch it unfold. It was just unreal in real time. It was like scenes out of a movie. It was like The Purge or like Black Hawk Down. There was roving like groups of like 20 men with bats and crowbars that were just running through the streets, banging on metal poles just to make noise, just to intimidate. What I imagine, just to intimidate, and not a police asset to be seen, just anarchy. And my concern was that they would start a fire in our building like they had in other buildings, and then you would have an entire building of 120 souls, children, women, men in pajamas in the middle of the night, have to be forced onto the street into this situation because there's a fire in the building. That's not a situation. Can you imagine being a kid being forced out into the street where there's like groups of like 30 guys with baseball bats?
No, you never forget that.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair to anybody.
No, that's
and
wrong.
So I stayed up the entire night on Friday, making sure that no one did anything nefarious. And if I saw anybody doing anything weird with our building, wisely or unwisely, I would run downstairs and confront them. And typically when you confront them,
that's a lot of stairs.
Well, I took an elevator.
All right.
13 floors is, I would have
Good
been
clarification.
Yeah. I would
damn, man,
I would
you're
run.
fast.
I would
You
run
Batman,
down. I would
man.
run to the elevator like
He's fast.
ground floor, and go down and confront them. I only do it a couple times, thankfully, because it's restaurants and like my buildings. It's like there's not a lot to like loot in my building.
Yeah, you primarily residential.
Primarily
around you.
residential, yeah. But across the street it was.
I mean,
bananas.
residential. We're talking about skyscrapers here.
Yeah, it's a city, right? It's like any city, and it was going bananas across the street though. So, I just in my mind I could only imagine a scenario where everyone in our building is forced onto the street in this chaos, and how unfair that would be to all like the women and children in the building. And I'd like this protector instinct just came on me. Like I am going to stay awake. I'm going to watch as the night went on. Flashbang grenades going off.
And this isn't
and
Call of
maybe-
Duty. This is LA.
This is downtown Los Angeles. Yeah, there were like roving groups of police would run through and like throw like smoke and tear gas and like flashbangs to like clear people out, and then the people would run away, and then the police would leave to go to the next hotspot, and they would come back and just continue to loot.
And to LAPD's credit, man, they really did a good job with containment
For
and
what-
making sure
for-
that this
for the-
didn't go beyond what
for the-
was downtown
on
LA.
on Friday, they did not go outside downtown. From my
And
understanding.
I mean, even we'll get to it in a moment. I probably here, but even in later times here, they really did a good job with containment.
for the assets they have and the lack of manpower. Like I don't know if you know this, but LA has half the head count of police per capita that New York does. So for the assets for the assets they have and the space they have to cover, astounding job.
Well, I guess that answers we were kind of debating on the cigar shop earlier. I guess that really kind of hammers down on the point as to why they weren't necessarily running across the street to stop the looting. They were trying to contain it into a certain
because
area.
they're bad people. It's and they were saying this on Channel 7 News, I believe, when we were watching the live stream, is that the news channels are just watching people loot these stores, and there's just no way that there's enough police. If you just look at the numbers of the amount of stores, the amount of police there are, it was an organized attack on these stores.
It really was an organized attack. There was cars.
There were people going from area to area. I don't know if it's city to city, neighborhood to neighborhood, however you want to describe it, within the Los Angeles County area. Like there were the same cars that were identified in Santa Monica, identified later in Long Beach, and then continued on. I mean,
that's crazy.
You want to talk about organization? They literally just kind of boom, 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 one to one, next.
Did you read about that?
No, I heard it right on the news. Same thing.
They were saying it.
I didn't watch it too much, but the one that I did watch was that same
what
thing.
we're telling is was on the news.
Yeah, you can go on YouTube and
this
watch
is real life.
You can go on YouTube and watch it. And so so I stayed up all night. There was fireworks. They were shooting fireworks like the mortars that you can get down in Mexico. We're pretty close to the Mexican border here, so you can go down to Mexico and get like professional grade mortars.
This was the crazy night, or then the next
The
day?
next night
this is the tame.
This is the intro night.
Friday.
This is like the warm up.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
We're just preheat in the oven over here.
Chris has you went out the next night and you got you had it first. You had it first before I did the second night. But
we'll get into that in a moment, and I'll share mine. But
fireworks going off next to my head because they were launching mortars, professional grade like fireworks at buildings.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way to light places on fire,
especially here. I mean, we talked about fire danger, and we didn't really get into it earlier. I know we were going to talk about it.
This place is a giant tinderbox.
Yeah, it's really dry. I mean, you hit the wrong palm tree, and I'm sure you saw that. I know you saw it in Hollywood, and I'm almost positive you saw it in downtown. But that thing's on fire in 10 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole entire top of it.
Yeah, and anything near it is on fire.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah, fire's a really serious problem here.
Very serious problem.
And if you ask that person that throws that in when he burns down an entire freaking building, I bet he doesn't say that was his intention. He's just crazy.
He's just acting out of like the mob mentality. Like there's no rules at the moment, and I'm going to take advantage of the no rules situation. I'm going to do whatever. It's almost like people thought they were in Grand Theft Auto or something like that. Like murder, like arson doesn't matter because I can just like jump in my car and drive away. 3-star, like
crazy.
3-star be damned.
Like that.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the minority. It has to be, right? Yeah, at least we have to think it is.
Like these weren't the protesters. The protesters were
of course.
They were
making the protesters look bad.
They were.
Absolutely.
They were. This is a different group of people. This is a professional class of people that were doing this. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to see. But I spent the whole night up till 4 a.m. until it really started to clear out, until you could see the light on the horizon up on the roof of my building, basically checking, running defense, and being exhausted and terrified all night. And it's an experience I won't soon forget. So that was.
Should we go over to the next day?
That was Friday night. That was the tame night. That was the some semblance of. If you would have asked me who's in charge of the city, I would have said the government is in charge of the city at that moment. But the next night, I would have disagreed that the government was in charge of the city. It really went off the rails on Saturday night. So, Chris, you I think you had the first real experiences on Saturday because
absolutely.
It started to spread from downtown to other parts of the city.
Yeah.
Which is new.
And I was texting you live while that stuff was happening with you.
Yeah.
Until I went to sleep. Right?
Yeah, I was given the squad, the Gin Drinkers Anonymous group. I was given us.
Shout out to GDA. The Gin Drinkers Anonymous.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's our group chat name.
That's our group chat name. Yeah.
Not alcoholics. We just enjoy a good time.
Inspired by Mulholland.
Because we honestly live off this stuff.
I mean, that makes us sound like alcoholics.
Yeah, that's not.
But we do enjoy it.
We do enjoy it.
Dudes like to think that we do stuff like that.
But we drink it once a week.
Exactly.
Once a week responsibly.
Exactly. And then you wake up the next morning after you drink too much. You're like, oh my God, I'm never doing that again.
After being well hydrated.
Remember those patches?
It took me so...
Oh my God. Those patches. I need to get more of those.
Yeah. I have some still.
First
you use them all?
Wow, no, I think I still have some.
Legend.
Those patches are bullshit.
What? I felt great, dude. I disagree.
They wire you, dude.
I was like... all jacked up on Mountain Dew to give you a Talladega Nights.
They give you a little buzz.
Yeah,
basically, there's these patches. They're like hangover patches that if you put it on your skin, where only like your underarm or something like that.
I mean, mine was
Anywhere-
on like my pelvis area.
I don't know. I was told to put it like on right
Dude, I felt
right on your
that.
pelvic vein
Mm-hmm.
area right
Oh,
there.
It
I felt
apparently loads you with vitamins to help with
B12.
your,
It's just like it's what is it? 55,000% of your daily vitamin B12 or something.
which is very
egregious.
very preemptive. I mean,
Seems like it's a bad idea. Looking at the percentage,
55,000% of anything is usually.
too much of anything is, that
Yeah.
whole saying there.
That's it, yeah.
So
Anyways.
Anyway, yeah, sidetrack. There.
everybody said it at the same time. I love it. All right, so we're on the same page. Yeah, so Saturday, the next day, when the protests have left downtown, and now we're spreading into different parts of the city, and Ian has was Santa Monica Sunday?
Santa Monica was Sunday.
Santa Monica was Sunday.
Yeah.
Was the next
Because
day.
I left Sunday night because it was too sketchy.
Yeah. I'm fortunate. I live right on the beach, and I mean, people ran by yelling in their microphones and all that, but
really, what it is
More than
Which is
that.
okay. Like that's okay. but
protesting's fine, but that like it's a residential area. There's nothing
Yeah,
to loot. Like
exactly.
if they were
There's no-
looting, they were trying to hurt people, and that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Which fortunately didn't happen, right? So I felt relatively safe. But you're right here next to a storefront. You clearly got threatened. I mean, that's a whole different, again, another different story. But
That's Sunday.
yeah.
Yeah, that's round
But now
3.
here we're, but that's
so we
the
heard about
tame version.
Friday. Now we're going into Saturday.
Going
And-
into Saturday,
And Chris, I don't think you had talked to Mario about this yet. You guys hadn't talked.
I had only, I mean, my experience or my understanding was that it was happening in downtown. I was texting him while it was happening on Friday, I believe.
Yeah, and I think the
that right?
I was texting
Because you
guys, yeah.
texted me that somebody hit somebody with a flamethrower, and I was like, yo, what?
Yeah, and I think the reality. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the reality doesn't hit you until you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like,
I was like,
wow.
oh, that's crazy.
That's
but-
crazy, bro. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody listening is going to be like, oh, that's crazy. But, and they might have experienced some of it. Some people.
Yeah.
probably-
People.
Hopefully
like,
you don't have to.
Shouts out to my brother in New York. He got some of that.
Yeah.
I had a whole new respect for police and
Oh.
people that are in the front lines of
Can
just
you imagine?
dealing
But
with
they're
stuff.
talking about defunding police after this, and I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, that sounds a little crazy after what I just saw.
that's a world that would be, we'll call it interesting to live in. I feel
Absolutely.
reasonably comfortable given my skill set and assets to survive a world with no police, but I fear for people who don't have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Saturday I had spent the whole day at the beach. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm not a phone type of person, especially
Yeah.
at the beach when I'm enjoying waves and a beautiful girl and some sand, right? So I was
That's all a
having-
man
A
needs.
true Californian.
What
right there.
else do you need, right? I mean, a true California might have a surfboard, but hey, I'm not from here. I was doing my best
Yeah, I
at this whole
tried.
attempt. But yeah, so I'd spent the whole day out there, and I had no idea what was going on. I forget if it was, there's so much beach here. I don't know if it was north or south, Huntington, Santa Barbara. I forget which one, but I had spent the day. I come back and then kind of shower, and I'm heading back to her place, and just kind of swinging back to Hollywood. And man, I had no idea, right? And to me, I'm just driving, through the night, and
She was
This
she was in the car with you at this point.
no, this
Oh,
is
no,
just
no.
me,
Okay,
and
this is
I'm
okay,
driving
yeah.
over, and I'm swinging by, and when I say I have no idea, I mean like literally zero idea that anything is happening outside of downtown. And I jump off the highway, and the first thing I have, I pull off the highway, and probably like a minute or two into I think it was West Hollywood at this point, there's this white SUV that just literally is coming straight at me, headlights on, peels out to my left and goes into the other lane, and a bunch of people hop out and they start looting a sneaker store. And I'm like,
So it's always the Foot Lockers.
they're like, but I have no idea, I'm like, holy shit, what is going on?
It's crazy. The sneaker stores are the first to go.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't live near a sneaker
A
store.
lot of
folks.
street value.
Yeah.
But dude, like, I mean, people just kind of hopping out, like 5-6 people jumping out, smashing windows, grabbing, and I'm, me, and I'm not the guy right in front of it. So there's a SUV, there's a car, and then there's me, and this guy's honking, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if honking's your best, kind of defense here. You
Get out of the way.
just move, So this guy's honking at them and like provoking. And then, exactly.
Hey,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Are you serious? And I'm like, dude, you got to stop that. So,
Get him, Karen.
very West
eventually
Hollywood.
this white SUV peels
Oh my
out
God.
backward, puts it in full on reverse, like peels out as fast as you possibly can backwards back into the same lane. And I'm like, oh, hell no.
Mhm.
I go around the car in front of me and like kind of like peel out. I got the Mini.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier. This is when the Mini maneuvers very well.
It does, yeah. Small. Yeah.
Small, nice. Kind of quirky, quick. Exactly. It
Yeah,
really,
little jackrabbit now. I think.
Exactly. It got the turbo in it, so we have a lot of fun. And I just went right out of there. I was like, no way. Around that car, through the first one, and I'm like, holy shit, that was crazy. Still don't know that this is like linked to protests, and obviously you just don't think of it, right? You have to put yourself in my shoes again. Just spent a day in the sun, really enjoying waves and just having fun.
And if you're like 5 blocks away from this, you have no idea what's happening.
None. But this is the beginning, right?
Yeah.
This is like the first thing that I notice, right? And then I'm driving and I continue going, and all of a sudden I start, and I have my windows closed and I get these like really strange smells. There's like tons of smoke, and I'm like, oh, what is going on? Like 25 police cars. And like, I didn't even know these existed, but there's like police trucks.
Yeah.
With
like the rails on the side for the guys to hang on.
Yeah. Like 8 to 12 guys on each side hanging off the side of it, fully strapped, like not just pistols. We're talking like semi-automatic rifles and
riot gear. Yeah.
Riot shields, like the whole entire thing. And I see like 25 of them going past me, and I'm like, wow. This is getting weird, and I'm still driving, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm going to get to where I'm going.
You're in Fairfax?
Yeah, it was going, I always blank on streets, but I'm going up towards Melrose and towards the looting, like, looking back now, I know it was happening at the Melrose and then it was happening at the next one. Exactly. And I'm driving on a street that goes through both of these.
Gotcha.
And I had no idea, but I'm just driving right into it.
Yeah.
Right. And, the smoke's happening and everything's happening. And then all of a sudden, like, I start getting the smoke getting so thick, starts to get so thick, and I can probably see 10, 20, 25 feet in front of me. And all of a sudden, this thing blows up right to my right, like probably 50-ish feet, I would say, in an alleyway. And it was just like this whole thing. And like, it turns out like a flashbang grenade literally blows up next to my car as I'm driving through Hollywood.
Loud.
Yeah.
Loud.
Oh, loud. I thought my windows blew up. I looked at my window and I was like poking to see if it was still there. I was like, what just happened? No way.
It's like it puts fireworks to shame.
Yeah, but this was this is how I got introduced to the riots. I was like, what?
Welcome to LA.
Yeah. Hi, welcome to Los Angeles. And here I am just driving.
Enjoy your
stay.
Yeah.
and I see just and then it kind of becomes apparent, like I see a bunch of cops running down, people running the other way, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the street, I'm talking just people running with all kinds of goods. They had looted like the MedMen cannabis shop. They had looted all these different things. There was a building on fire, and I'm just driving through, and I was just trying to get to where I was going, and everything is all of a sudden complete mayhem. There's this white SUV that another, I don't know what it is with white SUVs,
like
but another one kind of like pulls out from the street to my left here as I'm kind of like sitting right before there was like a bunch of fire trucks and like police like, do not go this way, right? And this guy comes out, and dude, there's literally a guy sitting in the passenger window like this with a rifle in his arm, and I'm like, dude, I have no idea this is going on. And I'm like, oh my God, what is, I have never driven so fast in the same, like I was like, I'm going to take the long way.
Thank God for turbos. Right?
Yeah. I was like literally first gear to fourth in like half a second, as fast as I could possibly get there. But this is just an everyday. And there was probably countless other people exactly like me driving through tear gas and flashbangs and burning buildings and people running in the street.
The thing is, I think there's like kids in the back seats of like some of these cars. It's like
kids, dogs.
Unfair.
Unfair. Just like everyday
Unfair.
families and just somebody. You could be coming from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Full of what?
Speaking of which, mine got broken into and somebody tried to light it on fire.
But yeah, dude, I'm just driving through and tear gas, flashbangs, people running in the street, buildings burning. And I'm just trying to get to where I was going, and it, like everybody else probably at that same time. And that's when I first realized that whatever was happening right now is like, I've never been the type of person that's like, you should stay inside for your own safety, but genuinely felt that, I needed to be out of the streets, in my own house, and that it was dangerous to kind of make your presence felt or aware anywhere other than actually anywhere at all. I mean, as long as you're not near, and this was happening right, half mile, quarter mile away from where she ultimately lived, and horrifying, truthfully. And for, I can't even imagine. I mean, just I'm an individual man, right? At the same time, what about a mother with 2 kids that lives on that street right next to this?
I can't imagine.
It's horrifying.
As a woman in the city at this point, like, I don't know.
That's not getting publicized.
How do you feel safe after that?
My sister's thinking of moving here. She's in Texas right now. I was like, I can't in good conscience tell you that you're going to be safe in this city right now. Like,
your sister's a genius, by the way.
She is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shouts out to the sister. Yeah. She makes me look like a first grader. She'll run circles around me as far as math or science goes. So yeah.
But that was a good segue out of just that experience. I mean, here's Kris just chilling on the beach, doing what most people want to do in California, driving in to go into the city, not thinking anything of it, and he's just driving around in his car, and boom, flashbang. So now, Mario, let's go into night 2.
Night 2. So I got no sleep. Night 1, I went back to my apartment at like 5 a.m. Sun's up. I close all my blinds. I try to fall asleep. I can't sleep. Like, there's no way. So I get out of bed and I start thinking to myself, like, all right, I need to make sure that everything is good to go, because I suspect this is going to happen again. And I was thinking about leaving at this point. I have places I can go. But at this point, there was already protesters in the street, and I didn't think it was safe to load a car because this was like 10 a.m. and there's already people in the streets. So I'm like, all right, I'm in it for another night. And the sun starts going down. The day is all just peaceful protests. It's always peaceful protests during the day. It really starts to turn up.
Which is okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's anything we love more than the Second Amendment, it's got to be the first.
Yeah. That's right.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
Bring it up. We haven't done one of these yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That sounded great on the headphones.
It did sound great.
So I'm a minute. I understand that I'm going to be here another night, and I understand that it's starting to be rambunctious, more rambunctious than the first night. It seems to be less police. I think they were even stretched more thin, right? Because there was protests going on in the Melrose, Fairfax area. There was.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, and
big time too. I mean, they were
burning
down
down. They were burning down the Grove. The Grove was on fire. Yeah, so.
Major shopping center for those that don't know.
Yeah, an outdoor shopping center. Yeah, it's more of a tourist attraction than anything. Like, no one actually goes to shop. Like, have you ever gone to shop at the Grove?
No, absolutely not.
No, there's no reason you should go.
I'm
shop.
not a big shopper though, but
that's
maybe
fair.
If we ask some of like the women or
why not? Is it?
It's so busy that like, and then there's like stores, but it's not like all the stores you'd want. You know what I'm saying? There's like a Nordstrom and an Apple store, and those are like the only 2 stores I'd ever hit.
There's some good restaurants there though.
There's some good restaurants. Yeah, it's like a great place you'd like go to like I've gone there before, but like to walk around. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like an open city kind of like. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, California shopping center.
There's like a police.
There's
a police kiosk there, and they lit that on fire, and it burned to the ground. Anyway, so the police are even more stretched thin. So I see even less police presence. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be another bananas night of just chaos, and it absolutely was. Even more people in downtown this night. There was no organization to it. There was a line of people against like there was a line of police at certain intersections. There was a line of people,
and they were blocking the 110.
Every day. They were the 101.
So the protesters
101
get on the highway.
Yeah,
101. Sorry, I always forget which 110.
Yeah, so that's another interesting. Yeah, so. The one guy I was talking to in my apartment, he said that he went to the protest that went on the 101, and he said that he saw them beating the windows out of a truck, it's
an everyday guy.
An everyday guy, yeah. He thought, he's like, I'm gonna go check out these protests because this seems like a once in a lifetime kind of event. And he said it went from 0 to hero.
Last thing you ever said.
Yeah, 0 to hero in like 5 seconds. Like, as soon as somebody threw a bottle at the truck, the mob just descended on the truck, and people were asking him like, yo, you need a can of spray paint, man. You don't have here's a can of spray paint. Like, people just giving out spray paint to like tag stuff.
Right outside the house, they were spray painting the wall across the street.
I'm shocked that lot of cars across from you was not just.
Part of me wanted to walk over there and be like,
"This is mine now."
Hey there, mister. I just want to shout out real quick. Look, you do what you got to do, right? But the only person seeing this wall is me. So if you're gonna tag it, maybe a picture of like some birds or something. You know, just something.
Could you help me out?
Something kind of chill. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I realized it's going off the chain, and I'm doing the same drill. But today there's even less people on the roof. I think some people had left the night before, like that day. They're like, I'm getting out of here, and I don't blame them. You should have gotten out of there. So I'm up on the roof, and there's no one up there anymore. And my one friend's up there with me, but I have a little ham radio. This is getting late. Running the same defense. There's people everywhere. There's trucks of dudes with rifles, like you said. People with handguns out there running around. People
we're talking like in the middle of
in the middle of a city. Yeah, like skyscraper.
And we're talking about people
like
running
70-story buildings. 70-story
with firearms.
With not only firearms, but like California illegal firearms. Trucks full of men with California illegal firearms, just jumping out and
horrifying,
looting. Yeah, guys with handguns running down the street, pointing at buildings, saying,
and you know they're illegal because you know which
because
firearms are illegal.
I mean, yeah, I know that you can't have a short-barreled rifle in California. That's not legal. And these were short-barreled rifles. Pistol grips. Exactly.
Because you can't hold a rifle like this.
You can't hold a rifle like
window without a pistol grip.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have to know much about it, but look, man, if you don't have that, then the rifle there's nowhere to hold. Right.
Exactly. So this is at this point, I'm like, all right, if you would have asked me at that point who has control of the city, I would have said the looters. There's the government does not have control of Los Angeles.
They virtually did.
At certain points at night, they did not. The police had no effective way of gaining control of the city.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily stormed. If they would have
City Hall.
If they would have stopped looting and started like storming City Hall, they could have stormed City Hall, taken City Hall, and said, "This is our city." Joe Schmo.
No, that would have been crazy.
But that's the thing. That's if they.
But
actually,
it wasn't.
That's revolution, right? That's revolution, and that's concerted. That's a political movement, right? This wasn't a political movement.
This is just people going.
This
out
is
for
people
personal
going
gain.
bananas. Yeah. So I have a little radio that Dom left me in the height.
Shout out to Dom again.
Shout out to Dom. Dom, the OG survivor.
Shout out.
What a guy.
He left me a little radio, and I was just on the roof with it on scan, and I hear over the radio calls for help, medical help, an address that I know where this address is, and clearly someone was using a little security radio or whatever radio they have to just shout out for help, because they're saying that like no EMS response. Unsurprising, because if you dial 911 if you dial 911 in downtown Los Angeles on Saturday night, you weren't getting an answer. There's just no one there.
They were busy.
I don't think there was anybody there. Like, what we gonna do? Every single police officer probably was standing in a line somewhere in the city, right? Like, who are you gonna send? What are you gonna do?
100%.
So, they called out that they needed medical assistance at an address I was aware of, and I couldn't hail them on the radio. I have the antenna I have is meant for the outdoors. It's not meant for like an urban environment where there's buildings and concrete and stone. And so I think to myself, all right, what do I do? I couldn't listen to like the wails for help over radio. So I know that I have medical equipment ready to go in a bag. It's right over there. It hasn't left my side.
You actually have it in your
I actually have it
right
right there, because I'm still a little traumatized from this weekend.
Mario carries around a
medical
bag.
equipment everywhere I go.
Yeah,
I used to not, right? But like now I'm like, as you know, Chris, like, and as you know, like it goes from 0 to hero apparently now in 0 seconds. So like, if you need to provide medical assistance, it's something that I can do. And since I can do it, I feel like I should do it. So, I'm like, all right. So I throw all the equipment I need into a bag that I imagine they could possibly need, and head out into the city. It's a city.
So you're hearing someone calling for help
on
through a random radio channel.
Yeah, it was on
that
scan.
Dom gave you.
I was trying to listen to police channels, and I was just having it on scan, like police, EMS, whatever. Dom gave me this radio. It's on scan, and I hear like shouts for medical equipment. They give an address.
That's like horrifying.
Yeah, it's like you can't just sit there and do nothing, right? Like maybe you can.
Actually, yeah. Not most people would do that.
Yeah, but
there's
imagine
an argument for doing it.
I mean, but if you have the medical equipment, and you know, like, all right, I have a chest seal, and I have medical equipment. I have alcohol.
So what were they asking for? I don't know.
They said a guy was cut on his chest. He said a guy was cut. Like we have a guy bleeding from his chest. I'm like, I imagined a stab wound or something like a lung puncture. I have a chest seal. Like I have a sucking chest wound like a kit that I bought, and I'm like, all right. So I have my panic buying for the Rona. I bought like 30, not 30. I bought like 4 bottles of like rubbing alcohol and other stuff like that. So I throw a bottle of fresh water, bottle of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, tourniquets, the chest seal kit, like the trauma kit into the bag. And I excursion out into downtown, running through the shadows with a backpack full of medical equipment. I roll up to the address. I have to run through the lines of protesters, and
what are you seeing then?
Chaos. Guys with chainsaws cutting through plywood to loot stores that hadn't been looted yet.
In downtown Los Angeles.
Chainsaws, crowbars, lengths of chain.
Yeah, that comes right before the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's next. Stay tuned. 2020.
like.
I mean,
chaos.
what about everybody else? Like we're talking about. I know you told me people running by you with guns and
there was trucks full of. There was a guy with a handgun pointing at buildings that they were like. He was like directing the crowd. He's like, take that building. He was like had a handgun. He's like, take that building, and the crowd just waves in an ocean just washed upon this building, and you hear windows shattering. Guys, there was trucks rolling through the streets of downtown Los Angeles, like 4 guys in the back with like rifles. Like semi-automatic rifles, illegal in California. There was no law or order, or not even law or order. There was no semblance of civilization present, other than the buildings.
That's horrifying.
Other than the buildings around you, there was no semblance of civilization, and there was no civility, I guess is the word. And so I have my mask up, my hood. I have a hoodie on, like black pants, black shoes, hood up, mask on. No one knows me from Jack. I have a backpack on. Everyone has a backpack on. I'm just running through downtown. And I roll up to the address where they called for equipment. And I roll up to this group of kids. When I say kids, we're all kids, right? No one here is over 30.
Damn right.
But I look, we're too young for this. I'm running up to this group of people, and there was, from when I first saw it, it was a shattered glass window on the ground floor of an apartment building, and it was you could easily tell it was a gymnasium, and there was a group of people outside. And at this point I hadn't realized, but later I would come to realize that pretty much every single apartment building had done what I had done and formed a militia of able-bodied young men with any weapons they could find: baseball bats, kettlebells, golf clubs, plastic rods,
legal firearm.
Whoever picked a kettlebell, that guy's a sav.
Well, okay, so the reason
you want to run into a guy with a kettlebell.
The reason why the guy with the kettlebell is because they broke into a gymnasium, and these guys came down because once they broke into the gymnasium, they had free access to the apartment building. There was no like security anymore, and so I think this group of guys came down once they broke in and found the gymnasium, and I think the guy didn't have a weapon. He just picked up a kettlebell, like one of like the 5-pounders. And these guys were standing there. I run up to this. I'm like running at this group, right? Full tilt run. I'm like, I'm not trying to be out here any longer than I have to. And this, like, the saddest thing I ever saw, this kid with like a Louisville Slugger bat, like looks at me. He sees me running at him full tilt, and he like squares up with like the fear of God in his face. Like, I'm gonna have to fight somebody right now. It's like a kid. I mean, like a 2-year-old, like just graduated from college. He probably just moved to Los Angeles or just graduated from USC.
Something along that. Yeah, absolutely.
And like this small kid, no muscle, right? Like just tiny kid. And I'm running at him. He's like, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, the good guy.
I was like, I heard a call for help. I have help. I put my hands in the air, right? Take my mask off, take my hood off. I'm like, I'm here. I have help. And everyone kind of like lowers their guard a little bit. They look at me like, where did you come from? Because the only people on the streets are people who mean ill at this point. And 100%. I drop my bag. It's right over there. I rip it open. I toss out the trauma kit. I toss out the bottle of rubbing alcohol. I toss out, because I don't know what's wrong. I can see blood on the ground. I think In hindsight, I think the kid cut himself on a piece of glass because there's like shattered glass,
You
giant.
should have told me you saw blood like dragged into the building.
Yeah, there's they dragged like the
dragged
homie,
some kid.
The homie was dragged back into the gym. Yeah,
And that must be like crazy because again, it's one of those things that you think if you see it, you would react a certain way, but when you're there and it's in front of you, everything's different.
Yeah, you see it on TV and you're really courageous.
You see
but
it on
all of a
TV.
sudden it's real life.
It's real life, but the thing is that
100%.
the thing that I realized is that in the heat of the moment, like the least of my concern, sadly, I hate to say this, but the least of my concern was that kid's blood. It was like my safety in some sense, right?
Well,
like,
I mean, you can't hate to say that. I mean,
yeah, but like it's like I was like I'm doing a mission kind of mindset, right? Like, like it's like almost like a side quest.
yeah,
right?
in
Like,
Call of Duty. Huh?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like
Save your teammates.
exactly like go here, drop this off, and get the fuck home, right? Like kind of
Revive.
Like, yeah, exactly. Revive this kid, right?
So you just roll in, you hear this dude on the radio crying for help. You go out there with all this medical supplies, and then what?
All the medical supplies is a bit of an exaggeration for what I had. I had a trauma kit, like a sucking chest wound. I had like a chest seal. It's a generic med kit basically.
So enough to put somebody off from dying before
Yeah,
medical help actually
exactly.
gets
And the
there.
problem, I talked to the guy very briefly. He's like, we called, they can't get here because you can't move in downtown right now because there's people in the street. There's people blocking every single intersection.
And there's police blocking
And there's
as
police
well.
blocking as well. And
As they should be.
As they should be. And there's no movement of EMS equipment, right? So if you're having a heart attack, you're going to die.
Hopefully that didn't happen.
Hopefully that didn't happen. But if you were having some sort of other medical issue, like there was no help for you. Like it wasn't happening. So I drop off this equipment and I look these guys in the face and I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I was like, the instructions are on the kit, the alcohol med kit. You got this. I'm out. And I just run home and I get back to my apartment. I'm sweating like a madman.
Hopefully it made a difference, you know?
Yeah, I think based on what I saw, the kid was awake. He was going to be fine. I think they were just. I think they were overly concerned. But
reasonably.
Yeah, reasonably, right? Like, if somebody's bleeding, like from what I can see, there was blood running down the right side of his chest. So
I panic if I like just cut my finger out like with a
there
knife.
there was blood. There was blood on the streets.
Them onions, man.
There was blood of innocent. There was blood of innocent civilians on the Los Angeles street.
Truly awful.
Truly awful is the only way to describe it. Truly awful. Yeah, guys with rifles. No, guys with handguns, guys with chainsaws, crowbars, flamethrowers.
And to be clear, these aren't
these are
protesters. These are people that taking advantage of a situation.
Absolutely.
And truly just taking, law and matters into their own hands. And I witnessed it. You witnessed it, Ian. You witnessed it as well. At least you witnessed the beginning of it. It only gets worse from where you saw, and dude, it's terrifying. And
it seems like that though was the peak. There.
That was the peak. That was the peak of my experience.
Then the National Guard came in.
Yeah,
and
so
that was huge.
That was Saturday night. That happened. Going into Sunday morning, it was right around midnight that happened, and I get back to my apartment. At this point, I hadn't slept in 2 days, and I'm still sitting on the roof of my apartment, but I'm like nodding off. But every time like a flashbang goes off or a firework goes off, I like wake up. I'm on the roof of my apartment.
Those are loud, by the way. Flashbangs. Like I said earlier, man, I thought my window blew up. Like I was positive. I was poking it to make sure it was still there.
Loud.
Is it louder than like shooting your rifle like without your?
Oh yeah.
Is it louder than that?
It's louder than that.
Yeah, dude, my ears were ringing in my car with my windows closed. I was like, there's ill doers with M80s, like the fireworks, and those are loud. And then there's the flashbangs. But you can tell a firework from a
flashbang. Apparently, which I never knew until this weekend.
Me neither. And I wish I never knew because I didn't sign up for military. I didn't sign up for the infantry, and neither did you.
No, I didn't sign up for shit.
And we're just driving or doing whatever we're doing in Los Angeles and going through our everyday life. And
honestly, if I could have got out, I would have got out.
But and that's another thing. You could not, and probably reasonably so. I mean, I'm not going to be against the fact that the police were containing things and restricting movement in a time as such
needed.
Exactly, and I agree that it was more or less needed in this scenario.
And it seems like there's this romantic thought that most people have of this idea of protecting yourself, and holding down your land and all that stuff. But it seems from what I've heard and from the different resources that I've just been looking at, and as I just become more aware of the rules behind self-defense if something like this ever happens again. Most of that, everything says, get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
If you can get out of there, that's number one.
Self-defense is the last line.
Don't
of defense.
sit down while the world's burning around you.
No.
And just hold down. No, get the hell out.
Self-defense is the last line.
Now we're gonna go into that, and Ian, you had the comfort really of being a little bit outside of downtown, and comfort used very, very loosely here. I want to be clear.
I did. I mean, I wasn't.
But I'm on the beach, right? I'm on like 0 Street pretty much, and you think 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
I've never heard 0.
I couldn't go out.
Unless you can swim, man.
Where am I?
Hawaii here.
Gets in the water.
So, but I'm in a tame neighborhood. It was totally fine.
Brings out the scuba gear. I'm going down, boys.
Right. I got an hour. Let's see how far I can get. Yeah, but yeah, I was stuck, man. I mean, I looked at the Google Maps. You pull it up, and literally everything around me was red and blocked off.
Yeah, for 2 days, Santa Monica was shut down,
like completely.
Well, the next day,
curfews at 1 p.m. That's martial law.
Yeah,
like you can't go outside during daylight.
At the same time, though, is it wrong? Like, is it wrong for them to do that? In
I don't.
Scenario?
I
mean, there's a
no
lot
idea.
but at the same time, it seems to me like it was necessary. Like. Being in it, you and me. And
I think. I
and this is the next day we're talking about.
But I believe
going into Sunday,
the average human would agree that what was going down in downtown LA
was off the chain.
Is not okay.
That was off the chain. That was outside the bounds of what is acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, going through what you went through and having to even an ordinary citizen, right? I mean, by all means,
no training. Yeah,
running through the streets.
It was
in downtown Los Angeles. Like, we're talking about a place with vibrant business, vibrant restaurants.
Yeah, that's why I moved. That's why I moved here, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like the small businesses. It's like the little taco shops. It's all that, right? It's like little jewelry shops.
And there's a ton of small business here.
It's all exactly, absolutely.
And we're talking about complete chaos. And somebody, a normal kid that had to run down the streets to that he felt the need to provide medical equipment to somebody that had been harmed by these rioters.
Ill doers.
That had to do it. Yeah.
Well, there seems like a certain level of naiveness that most people think that if you've never been put in a situation like many of us haven't ever been put in this situation before.
This is new to me.
You don't know you need to be prepared for things like this because it never happens to you.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much as most things in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like even I'm a firearm owner, and there's like 2 types of firearm owners, right? There's like I'm doing this because the Second Amendment guarantees me self-defense, and I'm going to defend my castle and my family and my property.
That's okay.
And and I was never in that group of people. I was always like, I like to go to the woods. I like to shoot guns because, quite frankly, target shooting is a blast.
And it's meditative.
It's meditative.
Shooting with the scope, I find it very calming and soothing and
as
mathematical.
As I get older and as I live in the city longer, like I just like to get out and I like to do things that are jarring to the comfort of a city, right? Like there's like the comfort of like going to brunch and having endless mimosas, and then there's like going out in the woods, starving for 2 days and shooting guns. It's like very jarring, and it's like to me it feels needed to keep a balance in life. And that's why I own a firearm, right? Like it's like the outdoors experience. But now I completely see where the other group of firearm owners come from. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they'd ever experienced this or if they would just believe this out of stories told. But I see where they're at.
Well, in cities, and I've actually thought about this a lot, right? In cities, usually we're very protected, but imagine, the people
usually you're very protected.
in say, I don't know, give me a middle America state
like
here.
Montana or South Dakota.
Oh, Montana. Yeah, Montana, right? Let's take South Dakota's even a better example.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah, middle of nowhere
Black
America.
Hills of South Dakota.
And these people, they're in the middle of nowhere, and realistically there's one police station with it that covers like a 1,000-mile radius. And imagine, living in this thing pretty much wild. It's still like the wild, wild west as we would talk about it.
Yep.
And if somebody breaks into your home in this part of America,
that's it.
There's no way that the police is ever going to get anywhere near you before anything that could have been done that's wrong has already been done.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kind of rhetoric that we hear that are people that are these Americans and doing these crazy things. At the end of the day, they live in an area of our country where things can go wrong. And if they do go wrong, nobody's protecting them but themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not wrong for them to own a rifle or a shotgun or a handgun to protect against potential illdoers that are maybe kicking down their door.
There might be wildlife for all.
Honestly, that's the more common scenario when a bear is trying to come in your window, or a bobcat, wandered too far,
close to your kids.
Close to your kids or to your livestock.
Breaks my heart to think about a bobcat going down.
Have you ever
guy.
been in close proximity to a bobcat?
Terrifying.
Bobcats are like next level crazy.
They're the most dangerous thing you can run into, and like people always think like, no man, a bear, but like a bear is more or less reasonable.
They eat berries and they chill.
Yeah, they eat berries, and there really isn't a huge issue unless they're starving or you're in between their cubs, right? Yeah. But cats, like big cats, mountain lions, bobcats, they're much more vicious, man. I mean, if you're running into one in the wild, if you turn your back to it, there's like signs everywhere like do not turn your back to a bobcat. Yeah. Like whatever you do, like it's going to bite your neck and you're probably going to die.
It's like a Grand Theft Auto, like you died.
Absolutely. And these are real problems out in the middle of the country, and even honestly in the federal lands that we were talking about earlier in California.
Oh yeah, California is a very diverse state, right? Like you have like 20 million people in like the greater Los Angeles area. You drive an hour, you can't see a single light.
Yeah, you're in the desert or you're in the mountains or the high desert or whatever it might be, but I mean,
and that's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
it is.
That's why I love California, right? Like, right? There's like palm trees and sun. It's warm. It's breezy, right?
It's a damn good day.
But if you go 30, absolutely, if you go like 40 minutes that way by car, you can be in the mountains.
And that's another thing. It's like when you see this craziness, I'm thinking we live in paradise. Like this area is so, we're so fortunate to be here. I always say, if you're going to be homeless anywhere, be homeless in SoCal.
California.
You don't even have rain.
It rains 2 days a year.
Yeah. I mean, like, you got to pitch a tent twice.
You don't know the difference between a poor college kid and a homeless person in SoCal.
Seriously.
Don't be homeless in New York City.
It's freezing.
It gets so cold.
Yeah, right. You grew up in New York. I grew up in Boston. We get it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So the point, but when you see people acting this way, it's
there's definitely people in Los Angeles that are like down and out, and I can understand where anger can come from, but I also I can't justify it in my mind given the innocent lives that are put at risk.
Yeah, especially what just happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't 92 type of riots, LA riots, but
no. I mean, that was
there were people that just took advantage of the situation.
So there was large riots in 92 for anybody who's not aware. There's the LA riots, and that's where you get the infamous roof Koreans. If you go Google roof Koreans, you'll see.
But these are people that were
defending businesses. But like that was
rightfully so, in my opinion.
Absolutely rightfully so. But it was a very concentrated area.
Yeah.
And very little of Los Angeles experienced the LA riots other than through TV. I think this was more widespread.
Yeah, I mean, Santa Monica got hit, right? This little beach town.
Town.
Sure, there's a lot of people here, absolutely, and I say a little loosely, but in the grand scheme of LA, it's really like this little kind of peaceful. They've separated from LA. They have their own police force and largely do things on their own, and it's like what, like 17, 18, maybe be like 20, 30 blocks. I don't know exactly. What it is.
It's a small little city,
but this little beach town with people that largely live by the water and are really chill. They're surfing all the time, and then all of a sudden, and as Ian was talking to, are smashing windows and breaking into the promenade and looting everything and anything inside. And it's wild.
It's very jarring. Very jarring.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess all we can do moving forward is to learn from the craziness that went down and become better people for it. That's and everybody listening in, obviously this is typically a non ordinary LenJones Party of 3 podcast.
Party of 3.
2 plus 1.
2 plus 1.
Party of 2 plus 1.
But I have learned that being prepared for situations that are out of your control is an interesting thing. And it makes me think, what happens if we lose Wi-Fi? What happens if we lose widespread internet, or the phone lines go down, or all of a sudden there's water's gone? A lot of issues that we're a civilized society that gets very everything changes when our bare necessities go away.
Yeah, absolutely. And here in Southern California, and really everywhere in the country, right? Like here in Southern California, like the real threat the constant threat is earthquakes, right? We could have a giant earthquake right now.
We had a little one, a 5.5.
We had a nice
week.
a nice little rocker. Right?
It's one of those like,
yeah.
Hey, while we're on the topic, does that scare the shit out of you, or is it just me?
The first one scared
I saw
me.
that. Yeah, my first earthquake, I was like, what?
Yeah.
We don't have earthquakes in the Northeast.
No, you
man.
don't get
and
that.
you're from Pennsylvania, so you know it.
No, yeah. You know.
I've never seen an earthquake actually impact lives. I've never seen tears fall from an earthquake. So for me,
thank God.
When I'm in my bed and I'm sleeping at night and I wake up and it starts shaking, I feel like I'm in a hammock. I'm like, yo, this is tight.
Yeah.
And then you realize that your building could fall over, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. What?
What?
Yeah. And so to your point, like forces outside our control, right? Like if you can't take care of yourself in a situation, you can't help others. There's two types of people in a situation. There's those who can take care of themselves and provide assistance, and there's those who are begging for assistance. And be the person who can take care of yourself and thereafter provide assistance.
And provide guidance.
During
the chaos.
If nothing else, yes. If nothing else, like have water, right? In Southern California, the key is water. You can survive 30 days without food, right? But you can only survive maybe 2 days without water. And have water, if nothing else. This is easy. Just have a couple gallons in your apartment. Just put it in the closet. Forget about it. And if you need it, come get it. But if you don't, it's whatever. It's the 89 cents a gallon, or like for whatever spring water. It's just easy to store. Just keeping it there, and that will go a long way in a situation where pipes break. It could. And if you can take care of yourself, that's one less person that needs help, and you're now a person who can provide assistance.
And hey, about that, think about me here, right? I barely have a kitchen. I barely go to the grocery store. Thank God I have a water filter on my faucet, man. Because I will tell you,
get that Brita.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm just great. I'm grateful I have friends, because all I got is that scooter over there. Thing goes 23 miles per hour on a 20-mile charge.
But you know what? That outruns every single person on foot.
I can just imagine you going through the Sepulveda Pass.
Oh, I'm just ripping it.
Hey, but that thing's dangerous, man. You fly by the birds and limes and whatever else jumps of the world.
Yeah. So that takes us to Sunday night, though, where you really had your experience, Ian.
So there was Friday, Saturday downtown, then Sunday Santa Monica,
which we started with. I believe you had briefly touched on it. But,
So Sunday morning, I
pretty much said everything I've seen. I didn't.
I knew. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I knew from my Saturday night experience that I am not going outside. You know, they said protests were happening in Santa Monica. I was like, oh, all hell's about to break loose. Yeah. And Ian, you were texting me at the time. You were like, yo, I'm gonna go check it out. I was like,
I'm like, listen, I'm getting this epidural shot.
We have.
That is a bad idea.
We got the group. We got the group chat. And Ian's like, I'm going rollerblading. I'm like, Ian, do not go rollerblading.
Whatever you do not go to downtown Santa Monica. And sure enough, Ian went to downtown Santa Monica.
I only went like to 4th Street, right? I didn't go in.
Well, that's downtown, man.
I hit the outskirts, and then
you quickly realize
my instincts quickly hit in. I'm like, yo, this isn't people watching. This is danger. Let's get out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This isn't peaceful protesting. This is dangerous.
Yeah.
People tried to start fires. There was a lot of it.
There was a fire right over there, about 2 or 3 blocks. If you go in and you hit hashtag Santa Monica, there's this car that you'll see. Last time I checked.
On I think it's like that's 5th Street, right?
No. It's
outside the courthouse.
It's closer. It was like 11th and
so there's
Broadway.
more than one. Clearly.
Was a cop car? Something like 20 cop cars burned in Los Angeles in one day.
No, I don't think it was.
We didn't even touch on that. We didn't even touch on the cop cars that were graffitied, smashed, burned.
That's 20. That's $2 million. It's 100,000. It's like $120,000 per cop car, because like they
all the equipment,
they kit them out, right?
And all the stuff that goes on there.
That's $2 million worth of cop cars that burn.
Truthfully, as crazy as this is going to sound, that's literally nothing compared to what
the
costs,
private property loss. Yeah.
And I don't know, man. You got to hope that insurance covers these types of things, and that especially.
Well, these insurance companies must be pretty tapped out.
After Corona and this whole thing, and
it's a bad time.
But you really got to hope that the small bit again, for me, it always goes back to the American entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
To that one guy that had a dream that moved from somewhere in Europe or South America or Central America or wherever it might be, and uprooted his entire family life, brought people here,
fleeing the chaos that we just experienced.
Yeah, fleeing what they believed never happened in the United States of America, because they thought that this was a better place, not for them, but for their children to grow up and have families in the future. And at the end of the day, this happens right outside their door. And they're like, what just happened? And they'd spent 30 years building, I always go to a liquor store example, but because it's like the easiest thing, right? This guy had run this liquor store, very reputable shop, been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years, and maybe even passed it on to his son that's now doing it, gets looted and after the coronavirus. And can he ever recover? Does he ever come back from something like this?
It's hard.
It's terrifying. And he moved his whole family here for this.
Well, the only answer is you gotta recover. I mean, everybody.
You gotta hope so.
You gotta try though. I mean, if anything,
that's the American spirit, right?
The world is so. I mean, we live on a giant rock in the middle of time and space, and a comet could come and end us tomorrow, or a meteor or something. That's likely the chance of that happening, or very, 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 very slim in our lifetime. But the point is that adversity strikes the world. We need to do our best to become better people from it. We need to do our best to be better prepared and learn from it. If we don't learn, then all of this truly was for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But look, I agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, there is the people that financially just will be completely devastated, that had moved their family from another country or had come here with $1 and a dream and really just try to do it, that won't financially recover in the near to midterm.
And after the corona thing too, after 2 months of not being in business and then this happening,
and they have to go through this, and that's just not fair. It makes you think, like, I don't know, man. Truthfully, it's just that poor family, or that poor guy that had built he had a life savings built into something that has now been completely wiped. He's 60 years old.
And he's boarding up his business in fear that people are going to come and break it.
And he doesn't have the energy to just start it all over. We're in our 20s. We're like, we'll do it all again. But this guy just can't do it all again.
As much as we all experience, we still all have incomes.
Yeah, and think about your dads. Imagine, my dad owns a small business, so maybe I'm more of a kind of feel it a bit more, but at the end of the day, what if my dad got really adversely affected by all this and could not wake up tomorrow and do what he does every single day because of this, and that affects his life, his children's life, and potentially even his grandchildren's life, and this is what he's built for 40 years now, and truly heartbreaking in my opinion.
So I see the cameras, they're blinking red. I think that means that we got to start ending this thing up over here. But I will say, man, we're going to probably make this the 100th episode, if not the 101st episode. And this will be an every 100 episode type of deal. I hope everyone listening in, let us know if this was something you guys enjoyed. This is, again, the touchy subjects, scary times. I love you all. Peace, love, and Jones. Big shout out to Kris and Mario, best friends I could have ever had out in LA during these times, and I'm just very grateful for the people in my life.
We love and appreciate you too as well, man. Yeah. You're a joy to have in our lives,
unique
and
soul,
nice, bright individual through all times. So,
well, this is Joy about to make you some high quality grub. So,
we about to eat now.
Get some burgers going.
All right, guys. Till next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to another episode of LenJones Party of Two. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review and subscribe to stay up to date on our new episodes. And remember, hope is not a strategy. Keep making moves. Till next time, peace.